Hi everyone, I'm Michelle from KidsXpress. I'm Head of Programs here. I oversee the therapy programs that we provide as well as the training and education programs we provide for teachers and other professionals working with children who've been through hard experiences. Here at KidsXpress, we are a trauma-focused children's charity and we provide therapeutic support for children who've undergone some form of adversity, whether that's grief and loss, separation, or other traumatic experiences. And today I'm talking to you because it's the start of a new school year and I have a little one starting going into year 2 this week, and I know that many of you watching there at home will also have kids heading into a new school year. So like any new beginning, whether it's the start of school altogether or whether it's the start of a new year and a new class with new friends and new teachers, any form of change is a little bit scary, and it can be a really positive change and it can be something that we're really excited about, but it can still create some form of nervousness within us. And it's the same for us as adults as well, but with little kids and big kids, whether we're talking about children in primary school or in their high school years, those feelings are sometimes a little bit harder for children to manage effectively. And with the summer that we've had already, we have a layer that's sitting across most of us here in Australia with the devastation that we've experienced through the bushfires. I live in the Blue Mountains and I've been experiencing firsthand the fear and the apprehension that's been going on for weeks and months, and I know that many of you have also been experiencing maybe the fear, but also many of you have also experienced direct loss because of the fires. And we've been supporting families and schools across the state of New South Wales and beyond, communities who've been impacted by fires so far. You don't have to be in a fire to be experiencing the impact. Our 24-hour media cycle means that we have had floods of devastating images, whether it's people losing their homes, whether it's the damage to our beautiful wildlife, whether it's our environment. It's absolutely normal that we, the adults, but particularly our children, may be experiencing an extra layer of anxiety and fear at the moment. So when you couple the change that comes from starting a new school year with the extra layer of anxiety that these environmental catastrophes have caused for almost all of us at some level, you can have what is potentially, a pot about to explode at your house. So I wanted to share with you a way that I've been talking to children and parents and teachers about what's a really normal stress response in our brains. I wanted to offer it to you because it's something that might be helpful for you when you're thinking about the reactions that your child is showing at the moment, maybe the experiences that you're having internally as well, and it might be some way that you can use to communicate with your kid about what's going on and the very normal emotions that they may be experiencing. So all you need for this is your hand, and what we're going to be talking about is what's called affectionately the hand model of the brain, and it's been popularized by a neuropsychologist called Dr. Dan Siegel. So I'm going to give you just our very simple version of it here today. So all you need is your hand, and we're going to be talking about 3 parts of the brain that are involved in the stress response for any kind of human, basically. So we're going to be talking about the upstairs part of the brain, which is this part here, the feelings part of the brain, which is in the middle of your head, and the downstairs part of your brain, which is at the back here where your skull kind of connects to your neck. Really technical. Your upstairs brain, your feelings brain, and your downstairs brain. So I'm going to talk to you about the 3 parts of that brain, what they do and why they're really important for getting along in life, getting along well at home and getting along well at school. And then I'm going to show you what happens when we have really strong feelings. Okay, so the upstairs part of your brain. That's at the front of your head here. If you give your skull a bit of a massage around your forehead, it's a really important part of your brain because it's the thinking part. You might have heard words like the frontal lobe or the prefrontal cortex. It's really our learning brain, or our school brain, if you like. All the things that we need kids to be doing at school, whether it's reading, whether it's maths, whether it's any sort of knowledge learning, it's really this part of the brain that's involved in that. So it's our upstairs learning brain. And really importantly, it's also where our executive functioning skills live, and our self-regulation, which are really big words that basically mean our ability to organize, plan, and make smart choices. So as a child, something might be really annoying us. Maybe our brother has been deliberately kind of picking at us or something, or maybe the kid next door to us has been tapping their pencil too many times, and part of us is just really frustrated and we want to kind of punch them. This part of our brain, if it's working properly, is kind of like the brakes, and there's a little voice inside that says, maybe I shouldn't do that, that's not going to work out too well. Okay, so we really want this part of the brain to be in control as much as possible. It helps us learn stuff, and it helps us manage our emotions and make smart choices. The next important part of our brain that we're going to be talking about today is the feelings part of our brain. And that's in the middle. If we could draw a line between our temples, it's the part of the brain called the amygdala. And that's where our feelings live. If you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, that control panel where the feelings live, that's our amygdala. And so most of the time, if we're having a good day, our amygdala is not really doing too much. It's just kind of on the positive side of neutral. We're just feeling happy and calm. And to have a good day where we're being able to learn and manage our emotions, we actually don't want that amygdala to be doing much at all. We don't want to be too happy or excited, because you know that kids can sometimes lose their brains a little bit when that happens. And we don't want to be having really strong negative emotions either. So that's the feelings part of the brain here. Upstairs brain, feelings brain. And the last part is the downstairs brain, which is at the back of your head here in that little dent. Now the downstairs brain is the oldest part of our brain, and we have this part of our brain in common with lots of animals and even reptiles. It's a really important part of our brain. It's the part of the brain that keeps us safe and keeps us alive. So without having to think about it, that part of our brain, the downstairs brain, keeps our heart beating. It keeps our lungs breathing. It keeps our body temperature just right. And it's also constantly scanning to see if we're safe. I like to think of it like a bodyguard. Most of the time, you don't really notice a bodyguard. It's just kind of hanging around in the background. But when you're in danger, that's when that bodyguard jumps into action. So now we're going to put these pieces together. On a good day, your upstairs brain, this part of the brain, is in charge. And we can think about your brain being like this. It wraps over, this is the front here, going down to the back here. The upstairs brain is wrapped over the top. Feelings brain isn't doing very much, and your downstairs brain is just relaxed and scanning in the background. This is what we want to be happening for ourselves and for our kids, for them to be happy and successful. But watch what happens if something happens that starts to trigger our emotions. Maybe something that makes us feel scared, maybe something that makes us feel mad, or some other kind of powerful emotion. So our amygdala, our feelings brain, starts to react. And if that situation continues, if we are not able to calm those feelings down, those signals in the amygdala get stronger. And you can see that as the amygdala is reacting, it's getting harder for the upstairs brain to stay in control. And eventually what will happen is that amygdala will get stronger and stronger until eventually we flip our lids. And at that point, the upstairs brain will switch off. It will just stop working, and the downstairs brain will jump into action. And this is absolutely normal, and it's absolutely what our brain is designed to do.
because this is a natural stress response that's designed to help us get out of danger. Really big feelings, something really scary has happened, we switch off that thinking brain so we can just react. The downstairs brain is there to keep us safe, but because it's the oldest part of our brain, it only gives us 3 choices. It tells us to run away from the problem, it tells us to fight the problem, and if we can't do one of those things, it'll tell us to stay very, very, very still, to play dead if you like, or to freeze and hope that that dangerous situation will pass us by and leave us alone. So this is kind of what's happening when we're entering into a new situation, potentially something that we're not sure about, like starting school, maybe with a new teacher that we don't know, maybe even a new school, or maybe our brain's been dealing with these strong feelings of fear, anxiety, even terror, because we've been in a fire, or because our brain has been constantly flooded by terrifying images of people around us, animals around us being devastated by the impact. So, inside our brains, regardless of whether our kid might actually be looking pretty calm, it's possible that this new change that's happening, or the threat and the exposure to the fire situation, is kind of creating a state inside their brain where they're not able to be calm, where that upstairs brain is not able to be in total control. So they may be flipping their lid quite a lot because these strong feelings are turning on that survival response with that fight, flight, or freeze. And that can look like a bunch of things. It can look like a kid who is normally pretty calm is starting to get really upset very quickly about just little things. It can look like a kid who's usually pretty calm is really teary much more easily than normal. Maybe they're much more reactive and snappy. Maybe they're forgetting their manners a little bit more than usual. Maybe they're much more clingy than they might usually be. I know a whole lot of kids who have hopped back into bed with mum or dad, and that's really unusual for that child. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that their brain is seeking the safety and the reassurance that you give as their safe adult. So, we know that this is potentially what's happening for our kid, right? It's really important that our kids have a way to calm their brains down, because while this is a totally normal adaptive response to danger, we don't want our kids to be flipping their lids because they're starting a new class. It's not going to be a successful start for their school year. So as well as flipping our lid, we can actually use this hand model as a way to remind ourselves and our children that one of the most effective ways to calm a distressed brain is to do some deep breathing. So we can do a high 5 breathing, taking 5 deep breaths down into our tummy. And what I mean by that is that if you teach a kid to do deep breathing, typically what's going to happen is they're going to do this. They're going to take a deep breath into this top part of their lungs, and you'll see their shoulders come up. Now that's great, but it's not going to do anything to calm their brains down. What we actually want to do is to do deep breathing down into our diaphragm. Sometimes it's called belly breathing, because as you breathe in, your tummy blows up like a balloon. The reason why this is effective is that there's a very important nerve called the vagus nerve that runs from our brain, from our downstairs brain, all the way down through just about every vital organ, all the way down into our tummies. And the vagus nerve is what regulates this fight, flight, freeze response. The reason why deep breathing is really important is that it's one of the most effective ways to calm a distressed brain. And that's because we have an important nerve that runs from our downstairs brain all the way down through just about every vital organ to our diaphragm, to our tummy. This vagus nerve is the nerve that controls our fight, flight, freeze response. So if we want to send a message to our brain that actually everything's okay, that we can calm down, one of the best ways to do that is to directly impact that vagus nerve. So taking deep breaths into your tummy is one way we can do that. So you can help your child learn how to take deep breaths down into their tummies, and if they learn how to do that, just 5 deep breaths changes the chemistry in their brain, oxygenates the bloodstream, and directly impacts that downstairs brain. Practice this with your kid every day, because remember, when you flipped your lid, that learning part of the brain isn't working anymore. So you can't learn new skills if your upstairs brain isn't working. It's something that you need to practice every day when your child is calm, so that when they are having strong feelings, they know how to help themselves. Deep breathing is just one of the many things that you can do to help your child feel calm. But remember, the most important strategy that you can use to help your child feel okay, to help your child manage their emotions, is to make sure that you are calm, that you are connected to your child, that you're able to reassure them that you are there, that you love them, that they are safe, and to be positive and try and have as many regular routines as possible. I hope that that was helpful for you. Best of luck with the new school year ahead, and I'll talk to you again soon.